Hello, folks. It's time for another edition of There's a Will. Yes, there is a will. This is my show, and you are welcome to it. Otherwise, why would we do it? I have with me in the studio today my friend and the producer and originator of the idea of Poland Daily. Actually, he's why we're here. His name is Aleksander
Wierzejski.
Wierzejski. What?
Wierzejski.
Aleksander Wierzejski. Is that
Thank
close?
you for having me, and hello. I'll tell you how to pronounce it. Yeah, this is a tip.
Yeah.
My brother's kids are at school in England, and their pals came out with some idea how to commemorate the long and complicated name. They use Wierzejski.
Wild jet ski?
Yes,
or
weird jet ski.
I like weird jet ski.
Weird jet ski.
Yeah. I was on one of those one time. It's bizarre. It was I don't
Weird
think
jet
I should
ski.
talk about that in front of the children that are watching. It was weird. Yeah. In Nicaragua. It was a long time. No, it wasn't that long ago. 10 years? Yeah. So Alex, it's funny for me. I'm over here. I'm interviewing you. My earpiece is falling out, folks. This always happens. I think my ears are too big. Write in. Are my ears too big? Let us know. It's funny because the first time I came into the studio here was when you were interviewing me for your business program, which was last spring, and that's when we met. You said, we're doing this thing called Poland Daily on the TV here, and it was business. We talked about some business.
We are about to have anniversary. A few weeks ago we had anniversary of a program, first anniversary of English language news show at Telewizja Republika, and that was probably the first show that was on the national TV in Poland. The other stations were doing that on internet, or they had special programs that were available elsewhere. We went with our program at 10 p.m. on Telewizja Republika, and surprise, surprise, our audience at that time is up from the normal level. So station is very happy that they came up with this idea. The idea, well, mine was execution,
So
but to start
good audience reaction.
right, but to start a program like that, you need decision of the station, decision of the board and owners and so on. And the idea came from Dorota Kania, who is a chief editor of the station. And we've been working on that for half a year, saying, is it possible, is it not, how to do that, and so on. And last year we had this high tension, at least we felt it in Poland, regarding our international image, that Poland was misrepresented in the world media, and there was a common idea that we have to do something with it. And first of all, if you want to say positive things, start saying positive things, not complain that others are not doing that. So this sped up all the project, and from the go-ahead, from the green light from our station, we had 3 weeks, and we started to broadcast the show.
And how much did you start with? I want to come back to the reasons for doing it, because I think that's interesting. I think our audience would be very interested in that. But how long was the show? What was the original? Tell us about the first day.
Original was about 10 minutes of news based on the news program that's produced here at Telewizja Republika. It's called Today or Dzisiaj. And it's about half an hour, 30 minutes, about 10 different stories. We are trying to pick the stories that are relevant for people who may be interested in Poland and rewrite them in the way that if you write something for audience, you assume they know things or two. So we are writing the story.
You have to assume some knowledge.
Right. Yeah. We are writing our stories assuming that people don't know a thing. Right. And we have to explain them, who is who, why certain things are happening, and so on, so on. And this is also how we screen the stories. So if there is too much to discuss and there is too little importance of the story, so we don't cover it. We cover the things that we think people who are vaguely interested in Poland should have a fun watching.
Okay. And you mentioned something. This is interesting because about a year ago, a lot of different people started talking to me, independent of knowing you and your project, about doing something.
Right.
Various business people and just people who are interested, and we're looking at the interested in projecting a positive image about Poland because it's an amazing place. They were talking to me, and little did I know that I would end up working with you, which is great. But it's a long journey from a year ago. But what do you think are some of the reasons that prompted? What were some of those things in the foreign media that prompted this?
Well, there are like several issues that we are touching now.
Okay.
The one issue is that Polish media neglected the English language world. We are living in our own world when the Szczecin is on the north, Kraków is on the south, Białystok is on the east, and Poznań is on the west. And that's pretty much dimensions of our world. We speak our language. We don't need anyone. We have enough people to be sort of boiling in our own pot and having our own soup.
Yeah, it's your own sort of stew, right, exactly.
Yeah. And we don't have this idea that we in Poland have something to tell other people in other countries.
You think there's a feeling that you don't have something to tell?
That was
or you're rather shy to broadcast
that was until the last year, I guess.
Right, okay.
And then we, if you look any given country, like Kazakhstan has its own English language channel.
Even Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan, of course. Yeah. And believe me, Sacha Baron is not.
I've got to watch that
there.
for some entertainment. Kazakh TV in English.
Kazakh TV, yes.
It's got to be good.
You have lots of stories from various countries, and they are being told in English in order to be easily understood to everyone else. Not necessarily Americans, English, French, or Spanish, but just everyone, virtually everyone.
Sure.
And we didn't have one. We had some attempts to do that, but it wasn't.
Various networks have tried
right. TVN
over time.
tried this thing, but
TVN
but even if they started
TVP as well.
Even if they started English language channel, they say, well, so this will be the channel that will teach English, not tell the story of Poland or our perspective to anyone else, but it will be directed to local market, to those who learn English. So it's nonsense. And I guess there are things we have.
So
we can share with other people.
Not directing in.
Right.
Previously, it was directed in. Learning English, like TVN Lingua. You remember that experiment?
Yeah.
It was an interesting experiment, but it was a whole
but
channel.
a different story. But different
about
story.
That,
yeah. And
but
there
it was teaching English.
Yeah. The long time works on the Polish news channels, like TVN or TVP Info. Or Polsat, it also end up in our local market. Because there is a curse. We are a middle-sized country in Europe. We may be size of one American state. And
Alabama.
Yeah, and if you if you have
more like
and if you produce something in Poland on Polish market, if you have business, anything, consulting, building bridges, whatever, you can find in the Polish market enough place to make yourself and your family live comfortably. So why would you bother to go to other countries? Why would you bother to do anything else? In Czech Republic, if they start any project, they think that must be European. That because we have this 8 million people and we will not survive with it. In Slovakia, the same. Hungary, the same. Because small countries look for it. We, as a middle-sized country, we think, well, we don't care. And now, so there is one thing that we didn't have a national English language news make daily on the current affairs, just like everyone else. That's the first story. Another, we had really bad situation because we felt like the product of mammal material exchange are flowing on us like from every possible corner, and like diminishing the importance of Poland, hitting.
Well, there were
our,
negative stories
right,
and the
right,
and the foreign press,
right.
Time after time, not understanding it. So it's starting
Every
with the
day
constitutional crisis,
tens
and
or
so-called
20s,
crisis.
and they didn't get another story. There was no talking, no arguments. Not saying, well, they say this and they say something other. There are two different arguments. No, it was like one-sided BS going daily on Poland.
Hey, there's a protest. That's terrible. Hey, but that's what democracy or republic is. You're allowed to protest, and you're allowed to go and voice your opinion in the street. It's okay. You're allowed to write it. It's okay. That's a sign of a vibrant republic or democracy. I prefer republic.
Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, everything like that.
Of course.
And we decided that this is biased. We need to do something that's not biased. That's the way we look at it. And since this is, even if there were some information from Poland, they are still sent out as a products of foreign journalists who are based in Austria, in Germany, in America, or somewhere else.
Not necessarily here.
They are coming here and reporting.
For a short time.
Even if
they don't know Polish history and things like that, especially the younger. I've found, as a journalist writing a lot about Poland over the last 20 some years, that and Central
come on,
Europe.
you cannot be that long a journalist, you know.
Absolutely.
You don't look like.
Yeah, I'm only 39.
Yes.
I only had to, on Paczki Day, I only had to eat 39, you see.
Right.
Because I'm only...
And you still have to show your ID when you go for beer.
I know, it's terrible, you know, because I like my beer, you know. But the thing is, though, I notice with the younger journalists, they don't seem to know what the history of Poland is. I mean, it's absurd to think that Poles would not be for freedom of expression. Because, I mean, there's a natural anarchy in the Polish spirit, which has built up over years. But it existed even before the occupation of 200 years. It was well before that, and it was expressed. That
was the basic reason why the occupation happened.
Correct. And people don't seem to understand that. So the last place that everybody's going to agree is going to be Poland. I mean, it is a natural, argumentative, cousin to cousin in a way, republic.
Well, this is because, but now we are going to something deeper.
Okay.
You can sit comfortably because
there'll
be longer lecture.
Should I get the lady to come in and fan us?
Oh, yes,
if a lady to fan us?
Please, yes, definitely.
These lights are brutal.
In about mid-18th century, when the powers who eventually divided Poland started to prepare themselves for it, they started to smear the country. They smeared the country because it was Catholic, so backwards. It smeared the country because it was not, it didn't have a strong administration, because that was mostly self-rule in the old republic. Like the people gathered together, decided to do something, and some did, some not. All over in Prussia, Russia, and Austria, you had the modernistic authoritarian states, while here you had the old-fashioned noble democracy. About 10% of people here were able to vote.
Democracy amongst nobility, with the liberum veto, meaning that one vote could cancel. Everybody had to agree unanimously, which is incredible.
On some issues, yes. But the thing is that in those countries, in Russia and Austria, there was no democracy at all. Those people couldn't vote on anything. They just had their supreme will from the ruler or from the appointed official, and they had to follow it. Now there is a prison, please go to prison. And the world opinion was created that Poles are either unable to do anything together, or they are crazy. There you had Napoleonic Wars, which confirmed that we're crazy, like all these crazy attacks. The Poles were on side of Napoleon fighting the British, and so on and so on. Then you had the uprisings, which didn't brought us freedom at the time when it was possible.
There was a reason why the Poles were on the side of Napoleon, because he defeated the occupying three powers.
Yes.
Russia, Austria,
Yes.
and Prussia. He kicked him out or pushed him back, and,
Yes.
and created again a little piece of Poland called the Duchy, right?
They did.
Is that correct?
The ruler was
My
from
shorthand, sorry.
from
History.
from Saxony, and that was like para-state that was out to grow. But that was like literally 200 years ago. So
200 years ago,
maybe not a story. But any serious books, publications that were about Poland written in the science, they were written either by Germans, by Russians, or by English and American persons who definitely read the books written by Germans and by Russians.
Well, they're not reading Polish.
So there was, like, our point of view could not possibly pass through. Because if you are a representative of the occupier, you consider yourself better. The people rightfully, the state rightfully fell because it had to. So you just describe why it fell in a way that is excluding any other arguments beside yourselves. And this was valid till the end of the First World War, 1918. We are celebrating right now 100th anniversary of regaining independence. And again, very interesting story. Those people who became who won this independence, who were first ministers and officials in the Polish government, some of them were in their teens at the beginning of the century, of the 20th century. And at the time, the general mood of Polish public was that those countries that occupied us are so powerful. They have these ships, companies, businesses, influences, that it will stay like that for foreseeable future. So anyone who say, let's grab a weapon and go fight for country was considered crazy. And really, it wasn't very catchy idea to fight for independence. Of course, you can find out that there were revolutionary cells of socialists in every part of partition. We call it pod każdym zaborem. That means in Russia, Warsaw was in Russia, then Kraków was in Austria, Poznań again was...
so Poland was in 3 sections,
right.
And those were the major cities of each section. Yeah, which is, you still see that influence in the 3
except Lwów and Vilna, which are beyond our borders right now.
Yeah, and Lwów, of course, was a Polish city of long standing.
Right, and
Vilna.
Generally, people didn't believe that regaining independence as independence is possible. Even when the war started, the First World War, the Great War, the majority thought that either Germans will win or Russians. So we should side with them or with another occupying power, because there's no possibility that there will be something independent. The only guy who foresaw the way of events it eventually developed was Józef Piłsudski. You can see him on the monuments right now.
Well, Piłsudski is everywhere present, isn't he?
Right, he was acting to
he's the great politician of the first half century of Poland.
Right.
Of the 20th century. Sorry.
When there was he was in Russia. If you are interested in history of Poland, Józef Piłsudski is really very interesting person. Born in today's Lithuania, speaking with the northern Polish accent. That's right now is being spoken by Poles in Vilna. Considered Russian revolutionists, spent years in Siberia, then building a socialist movement here in Poland with the idea that these workers will be the future revolutionary power who will not only crush the system, the capitalist system, but also will crush the occupying Russia. The Russia will fall and then free Poland will grow. Which was not necessarily idea of everyone, because some revolutionists thought that it's counter. They want revolution to free the workers, not to build a country of Poland and give the power to the lords of Poland. So you see the tensions. Anyway,
yeah, because Piłsudski was an early socialist.
The guy ended up in very early 20th century in Kraków. That was Galicia. That was part of Austrian Empire. When that was like model democracy at the time. The Austrians had this idea of giving each of the peoples that are part of this monarchy their dignity, ability to speak their language, but within some reasons of the Habsburg dynasty, sort of prototype of European Union today. And he started, and knowing that the war is approaching, he thought we need to build our own military, but because that's how you fight the war. You don't fight the war with leaflets. You don't fight the war with manifestations on the street. You fight the war with guns and people. And he took the guys, teenagers. He was at his 50s at the time, and he was walking on the forest with teenagers, taught him how to shoot, how to military commands and the stuff. And his uncle, who was at the time in Kraków, he wrote to his family that Jutek, that means the little Joseph, is completely out of his mind. He's, instead of building his own life, like having a wife and children, he's walking with kids.
In the woods.
In the woods. I mean, how crazy could that be?
Leading by example,
yeah,
which is...
10 years onwards, and then there was an independent Poland. And we had, for the first time in 150 years, ability to speak for ourselves of this entity that was not on the map. But if you go to the libraries in America, in England, they will still not find much about history. The history of Poland, I guess, to this day, is somehow, if you remember this American library with this huge shelves and lot of categories, and there is a history of Russia.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn about 19th century history of Poland, you go to history of Russia, and you hear about Polish rebels who wanted to fight the legal authority of Tsar. Right. So, and we are still...
Well, Piłsudski was doing that.
Yes,
that's one of my favorite stories. Is how he gave he supplied the dynamite, was it, that was used by Lenin's brother to kill the Tsar, or
that's
something
his
like
brother.
That. What?
His brother Bronisław Piłsudski.
Bronisław did it.
Yes,
not
Bronisław did it.
Okay.
Bronisław was sent to Siberia. Then he was and then he was sent to the Japanese islands, and he the only living male.
Is that the Sakhalin Islands or something?
Yes. And he studied the Ainu people, who are like original inhabitants of Japan.
Right.
And he's like God considered, and there is one Japanese gentleman who is great son of Bronisław Piłsudski.
So the brother, this to be clear, the brother of Józef Piłsudski became a huge figure to the Japanese.
That's right.
Yeah,
he
sort
saved
of patron
the language
saint or something. Yeah.
He saved the language, and now
I didn't know that. It's very interesting.
The Japanese people are more appreciative towards the Ainu people as the original population, because before 19th century, they were hardly considered human. But that's other,
sort of Eskimos, we know.
That's other story.
Yeah. In America.
Yes,
for example.
And what we are about we're trying to tell the story that Poland was neglected and wiped out not only from the maps, but also from the conscience of the people of 19th century, subsequently of 20th. That makes sense because you know probably very little about Burgundy, Kingdom of Burgundy. That was northern France and southern France, because it is not on the maps since about 200 years, or 300 years. You don't consider, I don't know, Bavarians another nation, although their state ceased to exist 150 years ago.
1870, I think.
Yes.
They were unified, Germany.
The same with Saxony, but so the things are different, and for Poles, the fact that we don't have our own country redefined the nationality, because the normally nationality.
What do you think was the crucial part of that? How did it change Poland, not having a diaspora, having a common language, a common history over 800 years or so? How did it change Poland not having the country? What do you think were the operative differences,
well,
having a country, not having one?
Right. Well, that was there was 5 generations. So after, I guess, 1820s, we had the people who grew up in the situation where we don't have a country, and then that was like natural thing, and it definitely meant that there is something, there are some values in your education, there are some values in your family, there are some values in your nationality, and you just have to pass it to
so language becomes something?
The language, yes, the culture,
the
very
history,
much.
the art, the church.
Yes,
these,
yes.
These,
well, the church is interesting because in, for example, 19th century Russia, the church was the place of your birth records.
Right.
So you could live all your life in the Russian institutions, here, there, at school, at job, and so on. You could barely speak Polish. But when you had to obtain your birth certificate for whatever reasons, you have to go to the church.
Yeah.
And that was Catholic Church.
Sure.
In today's Belarus, near Smolensk, because all those parishes were there. Poles were wiped out from the east by Soviets eventually in 1930s. And then you came to the place where there is no Tsar, different smell, and there is an old priest or young priest who is having a line of books starting in 1600s. And you suddenly know that all your history of your family is there. Your grandfathers, fathers of your grandfather.
So it's a record-keeping place
yes,
as well.
Yes,
It's not it has a very practical
and the books
function.
are in Polish.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the language that is not used in the Russian Empire. And that,
so
I guess,
becomes a
told
secret
you
communication.
that told you that this is not, that maybe there is different reality rather than Russian Empire, which will stay forever.
Yes, because if you grew up under this occupation and you're a child, you learn, you are, this past becomes lost to you, really.
But, well, we started from the logic why people know so few about Poland, and why we consider that this knowledge should be passed or should be spread. And
through
very
the
much
English
because
language, for example.
well, because
going
that's
outwards.
most useful tool right now.
Well, everybody speaks English and
right.
And
yeah.
communication,
and we still,
technology.
Yeah, we have this difference. Should we speak Cantonese or Han or
More
mainland?
people speak it, but
but
it's still a select audience.
Yeah, but, no. Actually, I think that most people speak in the world. 7 billion of us. Most of them can communicate in English. Yes.
Oh, it's more in English. Yeah.
Still.
But the native language, I believe, would be Chinese. Right. It's a small point. It's not. It's hardly worth making. Yeah.
Right.
The point is that people communicate in English.
Western. Our means of communication are mostly English, and of course, this is the way when you can do anything. You can influence people. And then it comes the idea that this is worldwide. This is interesting. This is something great. You have hundreds of role models who did wild things, which you'd never heard of in the Western sphere of existence. So
what are the messages? What are the messages
story.
Specifically that one needs to tell about Poland in your view? Yeah.
Okay.
What would you like for people to know?
Poland is all about freedom.
I mean, this history is important to know to get to this point. Yeah.
Poland is all about freedom. Being Polish means that you are free and responsible at the same time.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want because like the options are unlimited.
Sure.
But you do make sure not to hurt anyone in the process. Why the options are unlimited and why we have very deeply rooted into our psycho that the roots, because
into the psyche of
yeah.
You believe this is deeply in
that the options are like that.
Yeah.
You can do and like nobody can really impress you with his own achievements because you could have bigger ones next time. So this doesn't really count.
Okay.
This is a funny story because our kings of Poland were elected. We're not hereditary rulers, but they were elected. And it really happened few times that the people who were elected came in the 2-3 generations from the very poor or very low noble families.
From the lower nobility,
and the
lower gentry, for example.
Yeah, and the lower nobility were people who were living in the villages, taking care of their own stock or plowing their own ground.
Yeah.
The difference was that the ladies had a handkerchief and gloves
Yeah.
in the hand. So because they were noble.
Yeah.
But they did
Right.
the same.
Gloves were a symbol.
Yeah, of course.
We don't think about these things. We were talking about ties before we came on, where it came from. Yeah.
And if you know that like guys like Sobieski or they didn't have any royal
background,
and they became kings. So why
So
not
he
you?
just came from normal gentry. And
Not
yet he-
exactly in the process. Yes,
Yeah.
that took about 100 years, but
right. Okay.
but still,
Yeah.
so you feel that
Let's-
there is no class difference.
4 generations,
Yes,
100
that
years.
the class differences are not real here, at least in Poland. So you ask me about Polish values: freedom, responsibility, and
independence as well. I
and
think.
independence.
Yeah.
But the independence for the country, for yourself, maybe too. Yes.
Also, I think the Poles are quite independent. It's I remember when I was living in London and I used to come and visit Poland. I was writing about Poland, and I wrote about everything. I mean, I was just trying to get published. You have to write about anything you can. And one of the things I was writing about was this amazing entrepreneurial spirit that was visible in the streets, and how I thought and I was writing that it would change the country. And
but
it
you
was an
see
expression
that
of
this is
Polish.
like individual working very hard. The individual who is organizing everything, responsible for his own things.
Because Poles are quite industrious.
Rather individual than groups.
Yeah.
We are not. We're learning how to good cooperate in groups.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I do. Because to go back, there's an anarchistic. So cooperating in groups is rather reluctant sometimes.
Yes.
That's why entrepreneurs. I run my
Sooner
own
or later,
thing.
someone tells you, "Why are you ordering me?
Stop it."
Yeah. I mean, how do you know it's better?
Yeah. Well, I'm from the South. Southerners are a bit like that too. I'm
So
kinda
anyway,
used to it.
there's lots of reasons why do things like Poland daily.
Yeah.
Poland is exciting country. Lots of great people, great views, fantastic stories to be told in every possible angle. And so let's do it. And not only us journalists felt it, but as you said, business people considered that this is important. Those who, right now, just only yesterday, we've heard the news that in last year, half of our income came from export of goods and services.
That's right. Yeah.
And this means that we are very much dependent on the good name of the country, because
Absolutely.
this
is why business people are so interested, and we're talking to me and to you about getting some kind of programming
because they
out
understand it's like
It goes
a wheel.
hand in hand.
Yes, you turn the wheel saying this is Poland, it is a great country, and the next turn is Poland is a great country and has great products. So if there are great products, they must come from Poland, and the wheel is spinning and spinning faster and faster, and the money starts flowing. So who would not love it?
Yeah. So Poland, Poland Daily is about, if we could put it maybe in a shorter phrase, it's about looking outward and expressing Polish values and also saying, hey, we're here.
There's third dimension to that.
We're going outwards.
Yeah, well, there's third dimension. But most of the world media are, so to speak, leftist.
Yes.
As you know, I told you.
You're getting more and more extreme.
I used to work for CNN, and
That's
I
right.
consider
we
that as a fantastic opportunity. But that was 20 years ago.
But tell us about that.
No, that was a great opportunity for myself to meet great people, to produce great product. That was the top of journalists at the time, because we started basically interactive journalism, and on the way we've been inventing various kinds of reporting the story, including the bubble picture that can show you the some things that you would normally tell. And but what was important at the moment, I remember those discussions about credibility, consistency, about the values that are in journalism, and then I see the stories from last year when journalist kneels in the flood to show how deep the water is, and behind him there are guys walking basically barefoot.
Way above him.
Yeah, and is that the same CNN? And they are not
What
ashamed
story
of
was that? Where was that story?
I guess it was spring last year.
And they were trying to show it's a big flood.
Yeah, and the guy basically kneeled in his high boots, so he was, you know, just I'm very. You didn't so.
Where was that story? I didn't see that.
I don't know, but it was really.
It's an example
widely,
of hideous exaggeration.
Another story from London when CNN organized the peaceful Muslims who were against the peaceful Muslim demonstrations who were against violence.
Right. Yeah.
And they basically staged it. That was staged. And I was like, no, that cannot be. So, since the mainstream journalism is very much leftist, we are trying at Telewizja Republika to be conservative, to say that there is a family, there are values, you should follow that for your own good, and you're better off when you are conservative.
It's more about tradition and history, and that these things matter, and handing them down.
Yeah, but this tradition is not something that is an accident. It came from the experiences of people. Yeah. This or that way of behaving, this or that way of raising your children, and so on, so on.
Don't be so vain to think you're reinventing everything. Hey, look at some of this experience over thousands of years.
Yes.
It wasn't all wrong, was it?
Yeah,
you know, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And telling the story of Poland as seen from the conservative point. And I think this is very valid reason why Poland Daily should exist and grow, because it's again something new. And people who are watching the TV or internet, they have like 90% of the content made by leftists with the leftist agenda, and not with the conservative one. And I'm really glad that we are on the other side, and we're trying to tell the story, give the arguments that are valid to the more traditional way of looking, because the revolution is no longer modern. Well, the revolution is like, think of the past thing.
Yeah.
The people who
the revolution is now going back and talking about tradition.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I agree
the people who experienced the sexual revolution of the 70s are now 70 years old, and how can they claim that they are modern, up to date, they knew everything? No.
Well, I don't think people do think that they. I mean, it's a rarefied group that thinks they know. They did know everything through the revolution of the 60s and
I've
70s.
heard about American hippie group.
It was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag.
I've heard about American hippie commune.
Yeah.
That started in '74, and they had this one rule that they will swim naked at the sea, like every day, and they are doing that until today.
You know what? You know what I'm. Yeah,
and this is for 50 years.
come on. This is more like a sect or a cult, or
Yes.
a cult of nakedness or something. Nudism. Yeah. But and nothing wrong with nudism if you if you like that sort of.
No,
thing.
even the seniors are absolutely allowed to do that.
Yeah. And we just don't want to see it. But do it in a special place. I'm kidding. Seniors, go wild. But the thing that I miss from being a kid was that you could get a show like Firing Line with William F. Buckley, which was one of my favorite shows growing up, the Sunday show. I mean, you watched them all, but I always thought he was a fascinating guy. But it's more of a relic now. You have a lot of things on the internet, but it's not as well structured, It's just hit and miss, actually, and a lot of rambling. But he was a very organized guy. And he would have on people he completely disagreed with and just argue civilized fashion most of the time. He did threaten to punch Noam Chomsky once, famously, and maybe Gore Vidal too. But he didn't, but he threatened to. And you could have those exchange of ideas. William F. Buckley and the Black Panthers, well, that's great television. And they would have an exchange, of ideas, and you could then get to some kind of meeting of the minds at the end of it, or at least understanding.
Yeah, but today people
that.
are not watching the TV in a way we've been watching TV in the past before the internet.
How are they watching it?
Yeah. Well, right now I think people are watching the particular shows. Mm-hmm. They are available online, or they're available. You can record your shows, and you have completely unstructured television for yourself. So you're watching only the stuff that is really entertaining for you. And as long as it is entertaining, you have this speed fast forward button. And the attention span is not that long. I even 5 minutes, maybe 6.
Is your attention span affected? I mean, I like having these long conversations.
Unfortunately,
but I think mine is too. Yeah.
So
what did you say? No. Just kidding. Your name was? No, I think, but everyone's attention span is somewhat affected by this chopping and changing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to read a book. Sometimes I find myself going, gosh, this is slow.
Yes.
I need to read faster,
One of the conclusions is that evolution is going backwards and we are becoming dumber.
I've heard that said. In fact, I heard, I forget his name now, some you people who are on the internet, you may know this, the smartest man in America. Do you know who I'm talking
artificial
about?
intelligence now.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Some guy with a 200 IQ, who's just a very normal guy. He's like a farmer or something. He used to be a bouncer. He's a farmer. He's not an academic, but he's incredibly smart. He's developed his own theory of the universe. What's his name? Gosh, folks, sorry about that. I can't remember. But very interesting guy. And he was saying during Cro-Magnon times, before the rise of civilization, right? And Neanderthal times, the brain was bigger because you had to be a real multitasking survivor, Terminator hero type to protect your family, go hunt every day, and do all those things to keep yourself alive. And the brain was big. And as we've had to do less and less tasks, our brain is getting smaller. So that's actually your intuition, according to the smartest guy in the world, is true.
I don't know how long you work, but I've heard about research that said this hunter-gatherer societies, they worked about 3 hours a day. Well, okay, the group of men went out for hunting, but is that work? It's fun. Yes, you kill the animal,
have a couple of beers,
back,
kill some animals.
After a day or two, and then you feast on that animal for a week. Yeah. You basically have to dance, tell the stories, this kind of stuff. As opposed to waking up at 5 o'clock, working till, I don't know, 7 in the evening, and then only to wake up at 5 o'clock.
And sitting down the whole time, a lot of the time.
Right, and not too much fun. So maybe our lifestyle is worse off than the hunter-gatherers.
What's interesting, we're looking at that now, and we're starting to think, gosh, maybe they weren't so stupid. Maybe a lot of and the paleo diet and all these kind of things. I mean, Right.
Paleo diet is overrated.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
I've heard that.
It's like raw meat or something?
Yeah. Well, we have the tatar. If you have a Polish food, you know what tatar is.
I've had it. It's good. Yeah.
That's
not every day, but
raw
I like
beef with egg and some onion.
It's good to eat on the train when you're going from Warsaw to Berlin. I used to eat that on the way on the train. Listen,
Right.
Alex, okay, we've covered a lot of things. Thanks for coming in. Poland Daily on Republika TV and PolandDaily.com on the internet.
Yes.
And everything's available. All the things we're doing are available also on the internet, on the YouTube. So you can find tons of programming since we expanded the programming starting in December.
Right. We have right now we produce about an hour of the English language show a day,
which has been every day, which has been going on since December, and that's never been done. It's the first.
And we are doing
in
something.
Poland.
Yeah, and we are doing something to see how it would look on the television. So we put up the Poland Daily Live website on the YouTube, and like all of our production goes uninterrupted, just to see, is it interesting, is it engaging, is this fits our description of television. And I must say that according to my standards, it's very much so.
Well, Alexander, I want to thank you for coming
in,
for just walking down the hall to come in. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and we got it in the can now, but we'll do it again. And maybe we'll invite a couple of more people next time and really get into a longer discussion. Aleksander Wierzejski.
Wierzejski.
Aleksander Wierzejski, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. It's Poland Daily, PolandDaily.com. You can find our shows also on YouTube. That's it from us. There's a Will. Thank you for being with us. Please, if you watch the show on YouTube, give us a like. We appreciate it. We're here. We're doing it for you. We're doing it from Poland, and we're doing it for you. Without you, there's no point. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Alexander,
thank you
for being
having
with
me.
us. Okay, that's it. Ciao.